bar in the middle of some airport in the morning. I'm kidding. Let's see, are there any young musicians in the audience tonight? I can't really see. Hey, right here in the front row, what do you play? You play trombone and guitar. What are you better at? Trombone. And how old are you? 16, okay. Now, in front of all these people, probably most of them you don't know, how many days a week do you practice your various instruments? When you're not on vacation, you try to play. So in other words, you're a man of leisure at 16. Kind of what do you do? Kick back, hang with girls, watch sports. Cool. All right. Well, listen, we're very happy you're here. First and foremost, because I think it's important for young people to know that if there's going to be another generation of great classical musicians, Lucia, Yo-Yo Ma, or jazz musicians like Billy Childs, a kid has to go into a practice room, whether you're on vacation or not, and dedicate themselves to something that doesn't give them instant gratification, like the Game Boy or the internet. Right? You gotta risk it at 16, you gotta risk it at 9, right? By the time you're 26, it's too late to become a musician, right? I mean, Billy Childs, take it for instance, he started playing piano at 6 years old, and that's why he's the genius he is. Having said that, and we wish you success with your career as you go on, but you're a tall kid, so you probably end up being a basketball player, so that's okay too. But what I'm about to say is the worst possible message for kids, so you can probably handle it, but if there are younger kids in the audience, use your earplugs for 2 seconds while I say this. Ready? Go. I dropped out of college. Cool, yeah. But I did so with a good excuse. My first professional gig offer came along, and there it was, the opportunity of a lifetime to go on the road with Frank Sinatra. Pretty cool. Now, albeit it was in the middle of my 4th year of college, I was 6 months shy of graduation. And the gig with Sinatra was only 2 weeks. Seemed logical to me. I get out of college, I don't have to study, and I get to save up what little money I got paid and move to New York. It all seemed logical as I dialed my mom's phone number to tell her that all the money she saved through the course of her lifetime to take me to college, it was being flushed down the toilet in one phone call from Frank Sinatra. However, my mom is the biggest Frank Sinatra fan in the world, and so it went down quite nicely, thank you very much. And the next morning, with her blessing and my father's blessing, there I was at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles. Absolutely a cool thing, because they were debuting that night the music to L.A. is My Lady, which was his comeback record sort of in the 80s. And so I walked into this very trippy scene. There was Quincy Jones and the Nelson Riddle Orchestra, and there was Sinatra with his celebrity pals hanging out. And in walks Sinatra to the orchestra, and he calls this particular song called Fly Me to the Moon. You know this song? Do you like that song?
Yeah.
Cool. We're not doing it. For all I care, Michael Bublé can do that song till hell freezes over. Damn, Bublé's Canadian. What the hell does he know about that song anyway? And Michael's awesome. He's a dear friend, and he is the new Sinatra. And he's a great, great showman. If you haven't seen his show, go see it. But the reason I'm not going to play that song is because I'm forever scarred because I played so poorly in front of the original Bublé, Sinatra. Right? I stood up to take my first solo, and my trumpet looked like this. You know, I could barely get the solo because there's Frank Sinatra, and this is my first gig, and I just dropped out of school, and the whole bit, right? And Sinatra looked up at me at the end of the solo, and I believe he realized I was in dire straits and it sucked. And he said, "Hey, nice solo, kid." I was in some weird hallucinogenic state at that moment. I felt like I was in a Cary Grant rewind, you know? And somehow, because Sinatra said, "Nice solo, kid," I was convinced that he and I were tight. Somehow we'd end up like BFF forever. Crazy. Hanging out with blondes and scotch. But it never quite went down that way, and that's okay. But I still worked with him for those 2 weeks, and I take a lot of satisfaction in doing that. And so we'd like to close with one of Sinatra's best closing numbers. And the style of music this is called loosely translates into a saloon song. Do you guys know what a saloon song is?
Yeah.
You don't, I hope you don't know what it is. I'm going to tell you. A saloon song is the jazz equivalent of a country and western love song. Simple as that. Jazz equivalent of a country and western love song. And the way that works is Imagine for a second your local bar, right, like Cheers, that you go into all the time, you get hammered with the bartender, you're talking about sports or politics, whatever's on your mind. And this one particular night, you approach that same very familiar watering hole. And the bartender knows you so well, you can read by your body language, you've had a terrible, terrible night. And you inform the bartender that, in fact, you have. The worst night of your life has just happened. The woman you've loved for your entire life has left you, no less for your best friend. Yeah, and she's taken with her your trumpet. And all of your money. What a bitch. Now, if you tell that same story exactly the way I told it, and you remove the trumpet, and you merely insert a pickup truck, you got yourself a country and western love song. Yeah. The reality is Keith Urban and Frank Sinatra, they're tight. And nobody did that late night, smoky, heartbroken kind of vibe like Sinatra, so we'd like to pay tribute to him. Also tell you that directly after the performance tonight, we're going to be in the lobby signing posters and CDs, and Billy Childs, you're coming to sign your new flashy Guggenheim CD? You're going to be there? Yeah. All right, cool. So come back and say hello to everyone, and then we're taking the tour bus to the Hamptons. Who's coming with us? Anybody?
Yeah.
All right. What's that? Yeah. Did you see our bus out front? Yeah, we got a lot of room. How many you got? Table of 10 or something? All right. This is called One for My Baby, One More for the Road. We're going to do this. We're going to do this with all the microphones shut down in honor of Mr. Sinatra, the way you would in that bar late at night, which is